Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to add text to your pages in Adobe Muse. I've just got a page open here, a blank page. I'm just going to increase the height of that page by grabbing this little bar down the bottom here and stretching this out, and that gives me a bit more height to the page just by moving that down. Now, to add text to the page is really quite simple. You just get hold of the text tool and you just click and drag out a box, and it's inside this box that you can then place your text. So it's almost like drawing out a text box area on the web page. You can actually type directly into that box and then add your text that way to the page, or you can copy and paste text from another program, which is what I've done from, say for example, Microsoft Word. I can just paste in some text. Now if I go back and pick up the selection tool, I can then resize that box, and you'll notice that as I resize it, the text will automatically stretch and move to the same size as what the box is. So it's a great way for you to add text, is just by placing one of these boxes on your page, then resizing the box, and you can just watch the text move and resize itself according to the size of your box. Now you can format the text as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my text tool. I want this to be like a heading up here, but I want this to be a paragraph style of text. So I'm just going to highlight this text first, and then up here in these options I can format the style of the text that's on the page. So if we start with the color, here's the way that we can change the color of the text. So I'm just going to click on this little drop down arrow, and I've got a whole range of colors that I can choose from, and I'm just going to stick with this gray color here. And you can see that only the text that I've highlighted actually takes on that sort of shade of gray that I've selected. You can increase the font size, so you could make your text a little bit bigger if you wanted to. I'm just going to reduce that a little bit there. And of course you can change the font style. So if we click on this little drop down here, we've got lots of different kinds of font styles that we can choose from. We've got web safe fonts, we've got system fonts that are installed on this particular machine, but what's really cool is that you can add what we call web fonts. Now these are fonts that are hosted on a remote server, and they have a great advantage. It means that you can now add unusual style fonts, fonts that are a little bit sort of off the beaten track, fonts that are a little bit strange looking, a bit squirrely, different kinds of styles of fonts, and you no longer have to worry about whether that font is actually installed on the person's computer when they come to view your web pages, because it's actually stored remotely and therefore it's delivered to your web page from a remote server. So to add a web font, you simply click on this little icon here called Add Web Fonts. It brings up this dialog box, and then it displays a whole list of fonts that you can choose from and add to your pages. And there's some really unusual ones here that you can see. So no longer does the text on your web pages have to be a boring kind of standard font. You can now go for really sort of unusual stylistic fonts. Now in this dialog box you can filter the different kinds of fonts that are available. So if you know that you want a script kind of font, you can click this button here for example, and then it will filter all the fonts available, just leaving you with the script style ones. And if I click that, it takes that filter off. You can also filter for fonts that are useful for headings, and you can also filter for fonts that are useful for paragraphs. So I'm just going to take those off, and then I'm just going to go and choose a font that I quite like. So I might go for this Aladdin, so I'm just going to click on that and then say OK. I'll get this little message come up that it's been added to my web fonts menu, so I'm going to click OK to that. And now when I go to my web fonts menu, I will now see that I've got Aladdin added as one of my chosen fonts. So if I now select that, then the text that I've highlighted will take on that particular font style. And I might just increase the size of that again just to make it a little bit bigger so that we can see it a bit better. Okay, you can also edit your text in a more sort of detailed way as well by using the text panel window. So that's over here, but if you can't see it, you can go to the window menu and open up the text panel window. And this gives you more advanced options for altering your text. Again, you can change the font style, you can change the size and the color, but you've also got here alignment issues. So at the moment our text is left aligned. You can make it all capitals, you can make it bold, you can add uppercase or lowercase if you wanted to. And you've got a couple of other really great features as well. So you can increase the spacing between characters. So if I just increase this, what you'll notice is that the gap between the characters increases. So you can change those kind of look and feel to your text just by using these values here. What I can also do is, if I click in front of the W here of this first paragraph, is I can increase the spacing that is above this paragraph. So I'm just increasing the spacing between the heading and my first paragraph, again using this kind of icon here. And you can increase the spacing of the last paragraph or underneath a paragraph. You can also do things like placing your mouse on the very first line of a paragraph, and then you can indent that first line of your paragraph. So you can do that, so you can have a slight indentation from your first paragraph. I'm just going to put that back to 0, and you can indent the whole of the first paragraph, so you can move the whole thing along instead of just the first line of the paragraph as well. So lots of options for you to manipulate and edit your text. Another really nice feature as well is if I just highlight all of that paragraph, I can actually increase the line spacing. So this is the distance between the lines of the text, and this is something that you'll see commonly on websites because it aids the reading of the text that's on the page. And what I need to do here is I just need to increase the size of my text box, and then if I just go back and highlight that text again, I can increase the line spacing of my text, and it just gives me a bit more gap, a bit more space between that text. Okay, what's really nice with this is that you can then save that style. So I've done lots of things to this text. So I've changed the font style, the font size, the color. I've played around with all of these different kinds of values in here. And then what I want to do is draw out another text box and add some more text to my page. So I'm just going to go and grab some of that text from another program. Just going to click and paste it in here. So now I want this text to be the same as this one over here, but I can't remember what all the settings were that I used to create this kind of font here. So what you can do is you can highlight this text. I'm just going to close this panel window, and you can open up another panel window called Paragraph Styles. And again, if you can't see that, you'll need to go to the window menu to find it. But if I open up Paragraph Styles, I can now create a new style which is based on the text that I've highlighted. I'm going to name that, so I'm just going to call it body text, and I'm going to click OK to that. Now when I come to this dialog box over here and highlight the text in here, I can now choose this pre-saved style, and when I click it, it will apply that to the text that I've highlighted. So you can save out your styles of text, and I could do a heading one, and I could create a heading style, and then all my headings I could just highlight them, just come over here, click the heading style, and it will apply it to the headings. And the great thing about this is that you could come back in here and you could edit this style as well, so you could make changes to it, and then it will change all of the text on your page to which this style is applied to. So that's a really, really useful feature. So if you are formatting text and you want to have consistent text throughout your pages, whether it be headings, heading 2, subheadings, whether it be footer text, whether it be your main body text, whether it be text that is for images, you could come in here and create a style for each of the different kinds of text that you're going to have in your pages. Then whenever you create any text, you can just type your text in, highlight it, come over here and choose your preset styles and apply them to your text to keep consistency throughout your web pages.